All right, the next thing we're going to do is then get into how we set up our recording on the computer. So what we recommend is using Garageband, and I'm not going to go through all the details of Garageband, but there's a couple of things specific to the setup that we have here that'll be really important for you to know. So basically, a reminder, the sound is coming out of the soundboard with this USB, and that USB is coming into the back of the computer, and it's going to show up on Garageband. Well, we have to have Garageband identify the sound that's coming in and how they want that sound to go back out. So we're going to open up Garageband here to get started. Now, there's lots you can do with Garageband. This is not even the beginning of what's possible in Garageband, but it's a great way to get started with podcasting. We're going to select an empty project, and we're going to select Choose. Now, Garageband is what we call a multi-track sound editor. And one of the things that you can see right out of the gate is that we're going to do a basic track type of recording audio. That's most of the time what you're going to use. What I'm happy to see is that it says my instrument is connected with Zedi 10, which is the name of our board. That tells me that we're in pretty good shape and that our board is going to work for us and is connected in. In the event that you don't see Zedi 10, you can click here on that little drop down and check and see what your input device is. iMac microphone is just going to use the microphone on the screen here. That's not what we want. If you don't see Zedi 10 in the list, one thing I recommend is just turning your board off, closing GarageBand, opening GarageBand, and then turning your board back on. That will generally send the signal to GarageBand that you're ready to go. So while we're here, I'd like my input device, the sound coming into my computer, to be Zedi 10. When I listen back to it though, I'd like it to play on the iMac speakers so that the whole group can hear that. Okay, so that's our basic setup. Now, when I go to my inputs, you have a couple of choices here. And I'm gonna zoom in just so you can see them a little more clearly. In our case here, we have two microphones, 1 and 2. I can either have just line 1 coming in or microphone 1 coming in. I can have microphone 2 coming in, or I can have them coming in on the same track. Let me just show you how you might do it if you were bringing them in on the same track. I'm going to select Create. We call this a multi-track editor, but in this case, we're going to have both speakers showing up on the same track here. So I'm not going to worry too much about the sound right now, but one of the things you'll pay attention to is what is the volume in this particular track. So I've adjusted it on my board as we watched in the last video. I can also turn up the volume of the microphones here. And a couple of other key setup things. For most of us doing podcasting, tempo and beat is not as important as time. So I can click here and change my time setting. Great. Now, I have two other options here, and that is a count in. So it's going to click in or 1, 2, 3, 4 before it starts recording. This just cues everybody. I'd leave that one turned on. And the other one is our metronome. You'll want to encourage people to turn the metronome off. Okay, so now we're set to go, and I am going to do a quick recording by hitting the record button. You can hear it count in, and then we don't hear the metronome anymore. If after you're done, after you start recording, you're hearing that sound, you've forgotten to turn the metronome off, and you'll want to turn that on. Now, what I can see right out of the gate here as I'm doing recording is that I don't have very big sound waves. Why might that be? Well, a couple of things. I'm not actually speaking into any of the microphones at this point. So I would say to the person that I'm working with, you need to speak directly into the microphone. And you can see right away the difference that makes in our setup. So we have better sound quality. Now in our input 1 and 2, which is what we selected here, you'll notice right now I'm talking into microphone 1. Now I'm going to switch over and talk into microphone 2. So now I'm talking into microphone 2. And you can see what's happening, which is we're getting sound on the top for input 1 and sound on the bottom of the line for input 2. So that's one way we can do basic recording as we work here. Now, I'm going to then shift over and I am going to hit the stop button. Great. So now I've paused I've stopped my recording. Just so you know, for the purpose of this line is a track, okay? And I've got this selected. So I've got this part of the track selected. And this is what we call the playhead. Now, basic editing, I'll just get to a place where we can do some basic editing quick here. Basic editing that I might do is we didn't actually start in good audio until this. So what I can do from here is I will now go to my edit, split regions. You can see I've got now 2 different boxes. I can delete, I'm just clicking the delete key, or I can right click on this and delete. But I've deleted that out, and now I have the sound that I really want to work with, and I slide that left or right here. Great. Let's just do one more quick split. So I'm going to do that here, and we're going to split it, and I'm going to delete this. And now I've got an audio project that we're starting to have that looks a little bit more like something I might use. One other thing that's here that might be of value right out of the gates for students is hitting this loop icon. That loop icon here has a whole bunch of different kinds of background music and loops. And when I say a lot, there are a lot of options. I'm just going to go into the toy box and perfect. Let's imagine that I need an 80s game synthesizer right there. And so I can drag these out, I can listen to them, but I can add background music and all sorts of sounds into my recordings, and I reposition them. And now when I put the playhead at the beginning and I hit play back, you need to speak directly into the mic. You can see I'm starting to form a whole project here. Okay, now I'm ready to share this out. We're gonna go File, Share, Export to Song Disk. Here's where you're gonna give it a name, something that's meaningful to you, and we're gonna store it somewhere. Now we can put it a number of different places. We can put it, in this case, I'm gonna put it on the desktop, and I'm gonna make it an MP3 file. Great, now I can export that sound, and if I go to my desktop, there it is. We're all set to go. Great, that's really helpful. I can then use, let's just use my Finder quickly here. I'm going to turn on AirDrop if I'm a student, turn on AirDrop to everyone, and I can take that file and AirDrop it over to my iPad, and then I'm off and running. So very quickly, I've gone from recording to a final project to something that I can share with my teacher or somebody else that I want to give it to. So those are the keys to the basics of GarageBand.